And now it's time to discuss why Georgia Tech at home sets the tone for the rest of the season for the Orange next year. First of all, Georgia Tech is a pretty decent team. They're pretty decent. Haynes King is a very solid quarterback in the ACC. Last year, he had 37 total touchdowns. 37. Now, he did throw 16 interceptions, so you know he's going to give you 1 or 2 per game if you just get your hands on it. But at the same time, talented quarterback, pretty solid team. Georgia Tech last year made a bowl game for the first time since 2018. That was under Brent Key in his first full season as the head coach of Georgia Tech. He took over the year before midseason. Here's why this game, though, sets the tone for Syracuse for the whole year. Not saying that it's going to, if they lose, that we have to panic or anything, but it really is going to set the tone. It's going to give us a feel for how good or how bad the Orange are next season. First of all, you start with Ohio at home. I spoke about this earlier in the week. Ohio at home, you're probably going to beat Ohio at home. They're currently 15.5-point favorites. It would be really disappointing if they lost that game. And if they did lose that game, I would tell you to panic. I don't think they will. And I think they'll probably cover 15.5. I'm being completely honest with you. I think they will beat them pretty good. But again, it's Ohio, right? It doesn't really matter. Georgia Tech is an ACC team with a talented quarterback, as I just mentioned. That was a bowl team last year in week 2. It's in week 2, and it really reminds me of when Syracuse opened the season a couple years ago against Louisville in the Dome. If you recall, they also had a talented quarterback coming in Malik Cunningham. That was a pretty hyped up game. I think before the game, many people thought it could go either way. I think Louisville might have been considered the team with more talent, but Syracuse was at home. I don't remember the exact line on the game, but it was definitely close. And Syracuse annihilated them. Just annihilated Louisville at home to open the season. I remember that set the tone for a really strong first half. I remember that game so vividly. The most vivid part of it was the Derek McDonald interception at the end of the third quarter. It was on a long third down. And I love third down interceptions. Sorry, I'm going on a brief little tangent here. But I love third down turnovers when the team that we cheer for obviously forces it. Because on third down, the crowd gets super hyped, right? It's third down. You can get out the field. And then there's that explosion when you actually cause a turnover on third down or you get the sack. It's just a great feeling. So I remember jumping out of my seat when Derek McDonald got the interception. It was on 3rd and 15, I want to say, and it set Syracuse up for a red zone opportunity. They scored on it, and the rest was history for that game. They just blew them out. They blew out Louisville. So that was just really a long way of me telling you that game really set the tone for the first half of the season for Syracuse in 2022. Now, unfortunately, the wheels fell off 3 quarters through Clemson. That's when it fell off on 1 penalty. But who knows, right? Who knows what would have happened if that penalty didn't happen that way. But the point being is that we had an idea of how good or how bad Syracuse was based on the fact that they crushed Louisville in week 1. And Louisville was a good team that year. So similar with Syracuse this season and Georgia Tech. If Syracuse gets blown out against Georgia Tech, that's a problem. If Syracuse blows out Georgia Tech, man, we got to be feeling pretty good for the rest of the season. And if it's anything in between, well, maybe Syracuse will be an 8-win team, 9-win team. Maybe they'll be a 6 or 7-win team. We won't necessarily know. But the point being is that game could very well set the tone for the rest of the season for Syracuse next year. So that's why Georgia Tech is important. Regarding now the overall ACC, as far as a record prediction, I am going to say 4-4 in the ACC next season for Syracuse. It is identical to 2022. I could see an upside of 6-2 in the conference. I just don't know. I just don't think that the Orange could run the table in the ACC next year. I would love to see it. I'm rooting for Syracuse. I just don't think they're going to go 8-0 in the conference or 7-1 in the conference. I think 6-2 is the upside, and I would say the downside is 3-5. I think because, spoiler alert to Paul Friday, they're probably going to win at least 3 games in non-conference play. So I think if you win 3 games in non-conference, they're probably going to find a way to at least get 3 in the ACC to qualify for a bowl game. I'm basically telling you that the downside for this team next year, what feels like the first time in many years, the downside is they win 6 games and they make a bowl. When was the last time we could say that, right? Heading into a year, when was the last time we could say the worst case scenario for this team is probably 6 wins? And they have the upside of a team that could win 10 games just like it did in 2018. So overall, it's not a brutal ACC schedule, right? Not having the big dogs on there. But at the same time, I don't see the Orange running the table, dominating the ACC. I just don't see it. 4-4 is my record prediction for Syracuse football. Hope I'm wrong in a good way. 5-3, 6-2, 7-1, 8-0. That's what I mean by that.